gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you a dream for reality. We're all a part of the answer to the meaning of it all. Trying to join us for the moment we call now. Rise up, join in, raise the whole vibration.
Yes, we made it. I made it. You made it. We are here together. It is Thursday night. It is the live stream of consciousness, the moment we call now. That's what we're here for. I appreciate you guys being here in this moment. I have been doing this for, I don't know, a couple of years now, very intentionally kind of showing up to discuss my own questions about life and the meaning of it, and a great place to also introduce you to lots of cool guests who hold a unique puzzle piece, and we get to put the puzzle together and look at the big picture. So thank you guys for always showing up. I know Ninja Kitty has been here since day one. Thank you for being here again, Ninja Kitty. And Arnie Layton also been here a lot recently. One of my good local friends here, somebody who I know IRL in real life, as well as through the live stream of consciousness. It is the eve of Halloween. So thank you guys for showing up. And if you are here and you want to try a little exercise, tickle the algorithm, I like to call it, type in #live like Ninja Kitty did here. That basically tells the algorithm that there's something going on, and maybe it should put it into other feeds as suggestions for people who like this kind of esoteric conversation. Anyway, it is Hallows Eve, October 30th. I am super excited for tonight's episode because this is one of those rare chances that I get to actually work with somebody in person, and then right after that experience, I get to have them on the show and kind of talk about the experience, and again, get to show you their unique puzzle piece and what's going on. But before I do that, I like to clear the space with some sage, not the traditional burning sage, but the frequency sage, my singing bowl sage here. I like to ring the bowl. I like to do some breaths. Just in case any of you guys forgot how to do this, I'm going to give you a little instruction on breathing. So we're going to do this in through the nose. We're going to hold it for just like a moment, and then we're going to actually intentionally release and push out all of the things that we don't need to be holding on to, right? I often say, like, moments that you got stuck behind somebody in traffic, or you caught a red light and you didn't want to, just release that stuff. You don't need to hold on to it. That's the kind of the preface to the live stream. So let's get into the live stream. Let me ring the bowl. Let's do our breaths together. Here we go. Nice breath in. Nice breath out. Release. Another one in. More release. Feels so good. Last one together. Breathe in. Another little extra deep one. Release. And there we go. A simple reminder to connect with your breath and feel that little physiological buzz of energy happening, reminding you that you are alive. All right, so let's get down to business. Tonight, my guest is a woman named Linda Thoma. I met her through a fellow mentor, right? She has a mentor who's also a mentor of mine, been on this show before, Lynn Laborde. It is an amazing energetic teacher. I don't know what the right word is. She teaches so many things about ancient wisdom and infinite knowledge, infinite wisdom, and there's Akashic records, and really just understanding the essence of being and life and the cosmos. And there's a lot of students that she works with, and Linda was one of those students who Lynn introduced me to, and had an amazing story, and we started working together. So yes, that was Sage. So without further ado, I am going to welcome to the live stream of the consciousness for the first time, Miss Linda Thoma. Welcome to the live stream.
Hi.
Hello, hello. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I love your smile. I meant to tell you, you have such a radiant energy. I think I probably did tell you, but even like visually, I think, looking at the videos, when I was reviewing the videos, I was smiling because you just have such a nice smile and a nice demeanor and visual energetic presence. It's like its own description of beauty.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
very much.
You're welcome. And Ninja Kitty is saying, welcome to the show. So I didn't really talk about what it was that Lynn said to me when she introduced me to you, but let's talk about that. Lynn told me I have a student who, kind of suddenly opened up to light language and started speaking light language on these live Zooms. And that it was very emotional and authentic, and that I had to meet you. And when I met you, it certainly came through, and we did some work together. So why don't you tell me, in your words, your experience with Lynn and how you came to me?
Okay. Well, she, I guess you could say she cultivated the seed that had been planted decades before. And I have memories probably from age 4, walking around the apartment, babbling away, thinking I was speaking foreign languages. I could speak French, I could speak German, just like imaginary stuff was happening. And, it didn't last all that long. And I come to find that my mother kind of, I don't want to say squashed it, but she kind of,
Dismissed.
yeah, like we don't need to be doing that.
Right.
So then, I'm an adult, and I had an experience attending a Pentecostal church, and I spoke in tongues. So that was interesting, but nobody was able to interpret it, because that's typical how that, somebody speaks and then somebody interprets, and nobody was able to do that. And that was just a couple years of my life. And then my husband was familiar with the act of speaking light language, so he wasn't freaked out when I really started speaking light language when I was in Lynn's class. The emotions that come along with it, for me, it's this overwhelming love that I'm flooded with, and the tears come. When it first started happening in class, some of my classmates would point out to Lynn, something's happening to Linda, because I was afraid of just interrupting, just blurting out, these syllables and these words that I didn't know what I was saying.
What did that feel like? Like, was like, I'm trying to imagine, like it was like your brain was telling you to do it, but I guess your ego was telling you not to do it, or like part of your consciousness was telling you.
Well, it was my ego that was telling me, be quiet, don't interrupt.
Right.
And my spirit was just like, now. So, I eventually I got beyond the being uber polite, and I just made sure that Lynn was aware that you know, it's coming. I know it's going to happen in this class, and and she said, well, do it, go do it, speak it. And I'm like, okay. So then there were several students that would ask, do you have any messages for us today? So that was encouraging.
That's awesome. I love the story from the beginning when you talk about running around the house, speaking foreign languages, because I can imagine that, right, as young kids do, right? And I feel like, at that age, we're not conditioned by so many things, so we are definitely more connected to something, right? Some sort of source energy, right? And I can also remember. I mean, I don't know if I did it the way you describe it, right? But I can remember. Or I can even imagine, maybe I'm imagining you doing it, right, as a part of the collective, but I can imagine that feeling of just babbling and speaking French, but feeling like you actually are speaking French and possibly are actually speaking French, you know what I mean, without even knowing French or having ever been taught it. I mean, it's definitely, I think, something that a lot of people can relate to as far as tapping into their own imagination and what that feels like, right? What it feels like to imagine something and that experience of how it might manifest in babbling French, for instance, right? I think that's really fabulous, and that's what I like about the story too. I think it makes it a little bit more clear for people to understand what this might be like, how this all kind of connects. So I really like that. I also want to know, like, besides how it felt in the Zoom meetings, like you mentioned you were at a Pentecostal church and you started speaking in tongues. So let's go back to that for a minute. What was that experience? You were just sitting in service and words came out, sounds came out. Was it movement? What was that experience like? Do you remember?
There were times in a service that, if my memory serves me, they would be quiet and in prayer, and then somebody would say, are there any messages, or does anyone have anything to share? And I remember watching some of the fellow parishioners, that would stand up and just deliver a message in tongues. And sometimes they would be able to interpret it themselves, or somebody else would stand up and say, I have an interpretation.
Oh, wow.
And for me, again, it was just nerves, ego. I can't do this, but it was this overwhelming energy, this bubbling, like I was going to explode if I didn't open my mouth. And it happened a couple times, but when nobody stepped forward with an interpretation, it felt like the elders of the church were like, oh, that's just a prayer tongue, So.
Wow. Interesting. So I want to also now connect that to the present, because I know you shared your story with me, and one of the things that you said, or maybe it was Lynn that told me, is that, like, in my experience, light language is, I guess everybody kind of experiences it the way that they receive it, right? It's going to be different for everybody. So for me, I hear a lot of, like, dialect in it. And I think we spoke about this. Like, sometimes it's Hebrew, sometimes it's like Hawaiian. There's, like, definitely some, like, earthly dialects that I can hear kind of that are similar. And maybe it's, again, just the way I need to relate it, to sound and frequency and how that works. But I remember hearing that some of the light language that you spoke, there were actual interpretations that it was related to some sort of specific ancient language. Can you talk about that?
Well, sometimes when we were in Lynn's classes, there were fellow students who would step forward and give an interpretation of what I spoke.
Mhm, mhm.
And sometimes the very first identifiable being that came forward for me was the goddess Oshun. And she is from Africa.
Mm.
And she has a very distinct style, very specific dialect.
Mhm.
And after her came the goddess Inanna, Inanna, who sounded similar to Oshun, but she was much, I don't want to say militant, but she was much stronger in her style. And if I'm not mistaken, they both were of an Arcturian
Energy.
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So interesting. You're saying some things, and I love these conversations because I just love to respond. So these goddesses, Anun,
Oshun,
Oshun,
Oshun, Oshun,
Oshun, and the other one,
Inanna.
Inanna. So you had no knowledge of these entities before these experiences, and so did these experiences kind of like have you like look into like who these people were? Did you find out who they were, or you just know because
Well,
of the connection?
no, when I was trying to figure out who the first one was, Lynn knew
Mm,
because she was told
mhm,
who it was, but
mhm,
she was not at liberty to tell me
mhm,
who it was. But she looked it up
mhm.
and took a screenshot just to have it for the day when I said, I know who it is.
Right.
So when the day came when I was trying to figure it out, I knew it started with an O. That impression just came to me. It starts with an O. It's short. And when I told her that I thought there was a name Oshun, and it was like bells and whistles went off. Ding, ding, ding. I won. I won. And she brought up the screenshot she had taken, and she concurred. Yes, that's
Wow.
who it is.
Wow.
So it was pretty exciting.
That's really cool. And something interesting I find, and I want to, maybe you could speak to this. I don't know if you really know, but you mentioned these goddesses from earthly cultures, right? And then you said they were Arcturian energies. Can you speak about the connection there? What is the connection there, and how does that what does that mean?
My understanding is that they did have earthly presences, but they had past lives in other places in the galaxy.
Hmm.
And I don't know that there's much more I can say
Okay.
about it.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I certainly subscribe to a lot of different philosophies that would kind of try to explain that stuff, right? Like, that these are other frequencies of the same essence, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so like it's like there's an earthbound frequency, and then there's the Arcturian frequency, and there may be in time and space is not necessarily relative, right? In
Mhm.
that kind of in that kind of context. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what I just find it interesting. I feel like there's a lot of information that I'm interested in that is like ancient knowledge, like related to the pyramids and things that are not like mainstream, and then how they relate to the cosmos and how they relate to these mathematical principles, you know what I mean, how it's all connected. So that's what the live stream of consciousness is all about. It's all of that stuff just going through the universe. um, so okay, so people in the class would start asking you for messages, and now I know you've been on this committed journey to develop this relationship, to develop this talent by recording. This is part of why we were introduced to each other. But you've been sending me, daily recordings, and it's interesting the variety of emotion that comes through. Sometimes you can feel very happy emotion, sometimes you can feel heavier emotion. Sometimes the songs are bright, sometimes they're not. It's just really interesting to me to experience the variety. And I, again, personally, I know so many people who are experiencing so many things. I actually just want to acknowledge this comment from Arnie from a little bit. He says, in dreams, I sometimes wake up, and in the dream, I'm speaking light language. When I wake, I don't remember what I was saying, but I do get light codes in meditation. I think that speaks to the idea that, we're at this point in humanity where, people are kind of getting off the hamster wheel and doing things like meditation, which is leading to, kind of understanding themselves on different energetic levels and opening up different energetic gifts, so to speak. I guess that's just language way to describe it, right? But just kind of tuning in, and you mentioned something that I think is important, that even me, as somebody who's really, really interested in this stuff and very, very connected to the energy of it and to source and to my own essence, I feel like I struggle with the idea of letting go, right? Just letting go. And I think that's probably the key. The people that I see, like yourself and like Lynn, who get to these deeper states, it's that letting go, right? And I mean, intellectually, I feel like, okay, I got the points, what I got to do. I feel like emotionally I do. I'm not sure what it is, and I'm also okay with, maybe one of those specific gifts, right? Like channeling or being a psychic medium. Maybe that's just not what's going to come through me. Maybe, holding your hand, through this, somebody who might not have been a public, ever wanted to really speak in public, all of a sudden having this urge and this passion to get this message out, right? You feel really strongly, as far as I know, you feel really strongly about whatever's coming through you, how important it is for everybody else.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
There's one coming.
Here we go. Nice.
Onama ushtana na kali isti kali kuneme e kali kutana na kushtana me isi kiali kun enamo utana na kali kistena no ushtana na kali kan estuni me isti hali kanema utana na kali kastana ne isht enamo ora karsten hore kisi di kali kistini ni hi hanamo utana na kuch hashtana na utana na kan he kali katana na utana mo ustana na kan e kalikun est unikiste halikanene me esta he kutar ashtananakan henamo utananakan estenimeke hatut anokustad.
How you feeling?
It just had to come out.
I love it. I love it. I mean, again, this is kind of, I've experienced, different people manifesting light language in all sorts of ways, and this was a new one to me. And again, you and I spoke about this kind of, everything happens for a reason, and even being introduced for a reason, right? And I feel like even the day that we were working together, it was almost like just through conversation, that I felt like I was a part of it, right? Like, some things that I was triggering in your mind as far as thoughts, even, and the importance of what you're doing. And Arnie, oh wow, Arnie says it felt like a blessing to me. So there you go.
Good.
Amazing, amazing. See, it's validations like that something is, uh, something's going on, right? That's bigger than you.
Right. Because if only one person receives, that's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
One person.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I can definitely remember. So, and I think my audience has probably heard me tell this story before, but to you, and maybe I haven't told you this, but it's okay. We can say the same stories again, right?
Sure.
I remember I had heard of channeling, right? Just channeling on a general basis. 15 years ago, and it was on YouTube, and it was you'd put a guy on and he'd be channeling the Galactic Council. And 15 years ago, maybe 20, it was too much for me, right? I was just like, okay. And I can remember, I guess there's still a part of my essence is this non-judgmental essence. I wasn't like, oh, that guy's a wacko, right? I wasn't judging them, but I was like, yeah, that's just too much for me, right? Like not my speed. And I just moved on from it. And then years later, as I started to meet psychic mediums and I started to come into these circles and start to really relate to the energy that was happening, somebody presented a channeler. It was Sarah Curley, and she was channeling, oh my God, Amana. The light of Amana was a collective energy that she was channeling. And my friend Steve, who was, hosting the event, said, you got to check this out. And I put on a video, and I had an emotional response to it. There was definitely an energetic connection, and that to me was like, okay, I need to explore this further. And as I met her, I had another emotional response live with it. I did some work with her personally. So, for me, my experience was one from like, this is too much for me to, I really want to understand this. I feel connected to it. And Arnie says also much love was coming through you. So and that's, again, that I think is, for me, I'm so grateful to be able to experience things on an energetic level, right? To understand when love is coming through something, even if it's through language or light language or something that I may not understand on that specific level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how has this affected your normal life? As far as you said, you and your husband are going on an exciting trip. I want to talk about that, but like your marriage and your life and your relationship with your family, has everybody accepted this, or how's that?
Well, my husband has, he just, it's what she does, you know. um, and I have a sister, just one sister, and she's accepting of it and started just last week listening to my recordings, the same ones that I've been sending to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she made a comment that was so comforting. She said it triggered the memory from our childhood. She remembers me walking around the house.
Wow.
And she said, that's exactly what you sounded like.
Wow.
So I was pretty excited
That's
to hear her
amazing.
say that.
Yeah.
And other than that, she's married. There's no children there, and I have no children. So I have a cousin who knows that I speak light language, but beyond that, that's it. So who knows what they're going to say tomorrow if they see this on Facebook. So.
Well, good for you. You know what I mean? For accepting it yourself. You know what I mean? I know that that's a very common challenge for people who, you know, are having these experiences, because it's so different from what we grew up with. You know what I mean? A lot of people, some people, you know, I have some great guests on my show who grew up in households, you know, who supported this. But for most people, I think, you know, this is a new thing. And again, I'm excited to see people who maybe weren't believers in stuff like this before suddenly believing. I know Angelo is here, one of my audience members. You know, he came on. He commented AI generated, hashtag live, but AI generated. He's going through this kind of, you know, he grew up with cultural, what was it, Taino, oh my god, I forget his Spanish kind of Indian culture, who was very connected, right? And he kind of remembers things from his childhood, but grew up, you know, in society where that's kind of not really talked about, and now is experiencing things and looking for answers, you know, and kind of really open to all of this stuff, which is great. He just went on a trip to Italy, and he said everywhere he went there were feathers, like falling from the sky as they were walking, you know, like undeniable, you know, signs.
Mhm.
So it's just an amazing time. So okay, so you said, you know, not many people know, but the people who know are accepting. I guess this is a part of what's next. I was gonna say what's next for you, but I guess this is a part of it, right? Coming out to the public
Right.
and just saying, hey, this is what I do. And you know, I gotta say, I love the way you have embraced it. I love the way you've committed to it. You know, I don't always get to listen to the recordings when you send them to me, but I do listen back to them, and I feel like with light language and that kind of stuff, I feel like even somebody who is maybe a little skeptical about it, I feel like there's enough intrigue, right, for someone to listen and be like, okay, what's going on here? You know what I mean? What is this person saying, and why, and why does it feel somewhat familiar?
Mhm.
Maybe that's, you know, again.
It's been impressed upon me that it's the vibration that's going within and touching
Mhm,
your soul, touching your heart.
mhm,
And there's a lot of people that want the interpretation. What are you saying? What, you know, I want to know what that means.
mhm, mhm,
And I don't have that ability at this moment. I get senses of who it might be, but that's only some of the time.
mhm,
I get a sense of that, oh, that's a blessing. Oh, that's a prayer.
mhm, mhm,
Um, and possibly, oh, that was for Gaia,
mhm, mhm,
or, you know, stuff like that.
mhm,
Um, but I don't have, I'm not there yet to
mhm,
be
mhm.
able to interpret, but I was told that it's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. So I'm patient. So I'll wait.
Yeah, no, and you know what? I want to say you're not, yes, you are absolutely, I believe every word of what you just said. It is coming. But I think you, yes, you're patient, but you're not just waiting, you're actively a part of it. You're playing a role in your own reality. You know what I mean? And that's a big thing for me.
Right. And spirit was really nudging me, um, to get these messages out to the public. And
Mhm,
it was like every time I turned the corner, it was like spirit was there. Don't
mhm,
forget, don't forget, you have to do this.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
Okay. So that's why the easiest for me was to commit to sending, the recordings, just audio files.
mhm.
Um, so that's what I've been doing.
Mhm, mhm. So I will I guess we can kind of say that a little sneak preview that soon you'll be having some videos coming out,
Hmm.
so people can actually kind of watch and listen at the same time, and we'll probably also archive those audio files there also so people can listen to them, because I think although a message is a moment, right? A message comes in a moment that it's needed. I think a message is also eternal. You know what I mean? And it's there for a reason. So I feel like that's going to be a part of what we're working on together, is just archiving these messages for anybody who's supposed to find them sometime in the future. You know what I mean?
And not everybody is going to receive the exact same message as the next person.
Right.
You're going to receive exactly what you're meant to receive when you're meant to receive it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you a question. I know sometimes it comes through as like you just came through, you're just got more like talking, but sometimes it comes through in song. Is that something you can conjure or control, or it just comes as it is? Or like if you wanted to, let's say I asked you for a message for Gaia, is that something you could intentionally do or not yet?
I'm like almost there.
Okay.
So the singing is a recent development. Maybe that's only 2 months
Oh, wow.
of that. And it just, I could be speaking the light language, and then all of a sudden it'll start to have
Yeah.
notes to it. And I don't know where I'm going. It just goes.
Yeah.
So,
And do you have any musical background at all, or that you've never
I was in
sang?
choir,
Right.
in school, but
Right.
that's about it.
So how does that feel that it comes through in song? Does it feel like, is there a different vibration to the singing and the speaking?
Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah, tell me.
There is. It's it feels like the song, it's coming through me differently than the words. It's coming from the same place, but it's just so different. I don't know how to explain it. It's
No worries. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm loving the conversation, and I appreciate your being so candid and open to these questions. I know this is all really kind of new to you, but to me it feels very natural. Being around this kind of thing. You seem to really be comfortable. With the messages. Not, there's no like, even though you're saying I don't know exactly what it means, you're not afraid. You know what I mean? You're embracing it. You're welcoming it. You're almost calling it and saying, "All right, here I am." Which is I think really good, and I think you're in good hands as far as your mentors and Lynn, and kind of knowing how to protect yourself. You know what I mean? Because it is, I think, channeling is opening yourself up to energies, and as we know, energy is, there's a whole spectrum of energy we've been talking about, right? And in the 3 dimensions, there's a good and a bad, right? In the higher dimensions, it may not be described the same way, but you definitely want to make sure here in the 3 dimensions you're aligning yourself with good. Ooh, you know what? I'm glad I just said that, because that reminds me that when I was younger, I was born into a Jewish family. My mom and my dad were Jewish. I went to Hebrew school. I had a bar mitzvah, and I was given the choice at that point to continue my religious studies or not. And I just felt there were certain aspects of organized religion in general that I didn't really jive with. Of course, the love and treat others as you want to be treated, those aspects of religion I did align with. But what was I just saying? Oh my goodness, I lost my train of thought. About Hebrew school, being Jewish, and then it was more about being spiritual. Oh my goodness, I can't believe my thought just it
Well, you
came.
had mentioned to me about the language, the Hebrew language, and how that sounded. Some of the
That,
things that,
yes, that, well, that's, yeah, that's something a little bit different. And we can definitely speak to that. Faith is out there saying unconditional love always. Agreed. I love the philosophy. Yes. So what I was going to say was something about not, it was not religious based, but let's go back to what you're talking about. And that was, and when we recorded some of the videos, some of the light language to me had this very like kind of Hebrew sounding dialect to it. And I know there's a lot of connection with Hebrew language and ancient languages and Sanskrit and kind of those kinds of things. Um, but uh now, see, now my thoughts are crossing over. So recently I experienced just some sort of connection with the Hebrew symbols, right? As visual symbols and also as sounds, and just doing some research, and learning about the Hebrew language is supposed to basically be, and the Lord said, "Let there be light." They talk about how in that phrase, the "let there be light," the speaking of it, the frequency of the speaking was the significance of it, right? So like the words abracadabra, I know I'm jumping all over the place, but the words abracadabra mean I speak as I create, into reality. So Faith is telling me to take a breath. So that hit me when I was listening to you, right? Was what is the significance of frequency and language and these symbols, specifically the Hebrew ones, because that's what it sounded like to me. So that's just an aspect of light language that I find interesting, right? Is the similarities to earthbound languages, even though it's
right.
not.
Lynn mentioned the other day that, because she's been a student of Kabbalah for quite a while, that there's Hebrew on one side and there's Aramaic on the back side. That's the hidden side, and it's likely more the Aramaic that was resonating with you, because I believe that's the older of the two
I
languages.
gotcha. Understood. Yeah, and Brian is confirming or agreeing the universe was created with numbers, letters, and sound. Yeah, frequencies, and yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, awesome. So, has this brought you any new researching? These things. What have you found as far as um, where this is all coming from, or is it related to any of your ancestry in any ways?
Um, Not so much the ancestry, but this is stemming more from a remembering, because we're here to remember. That's remembering things we were taught. Remember, and I'm talking past lives. I'm talking
I was
other.
I was just going to say you're talking about remembering other existences, other
Correct.
aspects of yourself.
Correct. And some of the beings that I've had opportunity to have speak through me, um, I've had Hathor, I've had Isis, Mother Sophia,
Hmm.
um, and there's remembrances pop in, and I have a connection to the temples in Egypt, um, and obviously to Arcturus, And there's also, I had a Lyran princess speak through me once. And I've also had the plant kingdom.
Ooh.
Gaia came before the plant kingdom, but that was a pretty unusual day when the plant kingdom came through.
Wow. And do you have a recording of that? That must have been interesting. Was that on a Zoom?
It was in a class, so there must be something.
Wow.
And
what did that feel like? How did you know it was more of a plant essence than a...
I just got the sense, like, as if somebody was telling me through my spirit that, well, we were the plants. We were speaking to you, and it was very different syllables, very different sounds than anything else I've ever brought through. And it only happened that one day.
Wow. Yeah, that's why I'd be interested in hearing that recording. So I have an interesting question, and I I kind of have my own theories on this. But you talked about different energies coming through you, Arcturian and Lyran, obviously, and Hathor and Egyptian, and kind of more earthbound. Do you feel like there is a cosmic origin to each of us, or do you feel like it's all one?
We're all connected. So it is all one, but we've all been aspects of that one. And we've all had a galactic experience. We're not from here.
And I'm just asking that question, and again, I said I have my own ideas, and as I'm thinking about it, I'm realizing, again, I'm kind of coming up with my own thoughts about it, and that idea, right? That you hear different stories articulated about these galactic wars over millions and millions of years, right? And different battles that are happening between different races, but in that same sentence, and right now in this moment that we're talking about, the idea, like, okay, at one point I was Arcturian, at one point I was from Orion, and I think that's the whole idea of the one, right, breaking into all of these different essences to experience itself. So you're experiencing yourself as the aggressor of that battle, and as the victim, you know what I mean? You're experiencing all of those different aspects of essence of what being is, in those different ways. And it makes sense. Again, as a human, I can't really wrap my head around it. I can say it kind of in some words, but and I can feel it, and I can be like, oh yeah, that's it, that makes sense. But right now I'll watch this video back and I'll be like, what the heck am I even talking about? And I think that's the beauty of it, just kind of like you said, this remembering, this feeling. To me, feeling is the universe, is the language of the universe, right? Feeling, it's not words, it's not sound, it's not color. Feeling is its own iteration of frequency. It's a frequency.
Right, because you don't have to say anything to communicate.
Right.
I mean, even the inexperienced, the uninitiated to what we're talking about, you can communicate with somebody just by the energy, the vibe that you're giving off. And that's at a very basic level.
Right.
So
totally. And I think that's a part of what I like, right? Part of my mission is, like, all the people that I hang out with that I feel like are enlightened, they kind of know these things. But then the people that I hang out that maybe don't think about things that way, right? Like the idea of energy, I've spoken about this before too, the idea of going to a concert or a football game and feeling the collective energy, right? When you walk into an arena, everybody's there to have a good time, everyone's pumped up, everyone's rooting for their team. There's a certain energy there that you can feel, it's palpable. And again, it's like, even like, you can even decide, right, as an individual experiencing that energy, like, oh my God, I want to be part of this. Or you can be like, ooh, I don't like this energy. You know what I mean? Like, some people just don't like to be in that energy.
Right.
And I think that's also the beauty of experience, right? You can kind of decide where on the spectrum you want to be. This is the conversation that we've been having lately about polarity and frequency and all of that. Amazing, Linda. Amazing. I really, I'm so excited to be working with you and to continue to work with you. I would love to hear some more channeling, if you've got anything coming through, or if there's maybe something we can talk about that you think might trigger that.
There's another one in the offing, so might take a moment or so, but
okay.
if
Awesome.
we could continue just to talk of something and let it bubble up.
I think it's bubbling up.
Hunan iki sinimi iklia otsana no kute, onimokute sanoku, estone mosha, kelikune meki, ensone mola, esone kuta, estana kute, esane kute, Alekushanamo, esone kuta, esone muka, eno, elakunemusa, ketu, esona kula.
Are you left with any thoughts about what that might have connected to?
I believe that was a blessing for Gaia, and for all of the people recently affected by the weather. Estonana ustekeli ali kisini mi utanana kali kisanana uts estonami isakali kan inami istikisi hatushtenan kisu haliku enomoku estonimaki satutasha esanimaki haliku estonima astanana kali estonekisi Hatuche kashtanene istananaki, halikanemu utananakat, istanemi ist, hushtananaku, halikanemi istu keshta, En sonimo otenanaki.
Now, Faith is saying so emotional, and obviously we can feel the emotion. I want you to kind of at least let me know. I feel like the emotion that you're feeling is, like you said, unconditional love and very positive. It's not as heavy as people might think visually. It looks like, grief and heaviness, but it's such a joy. I mean, I know I feel it that way. um I think
There's
it's
no grief. There's no grief.
yeah,
It's just love. The love from spirit. It's
yeah, incredible. Wow, thank you for being so vulnerable with me and my audience, and letting that come through. I think we can all feel it. Yeah, Arnie says many blessings and love. So one of my viewers, Faith, uh, overwhelming unconditional love, does that. Yes, absolutely. Faith, Jules is very much into unconditional love, but she had an experience in her sleep that she's trying to understand, and she has it on video because she was taping it because she was having these experiences where her grandfather comes through, and vocally you hear her and her grandfather on the tape. Now you're seeing her sleeping, she's just in bed, but you're hearing her grandfather and her have this really brief conversation. And I know she has done some research and come up with that the phenomena that it is called direct voice phenomena. Do you know anything about that? She's just asking. So I know your experience is probably different, but
no, sorry, I don't.
no worries. I wanted to, acknowledge Jules and her experience, which is, I had her on the show last week and we looked at that, and it was just incredible. And again, for me, I feel blessed to have so many people coming into my life who are having these experiences that I feel are all related, and just all about, sorry, just fixing the screen, all about, all about our individual connections with energy, right? And how they are all going to kind of manifest differently, but they're all connected. Like you said, we're all connected. I think it's really important for people to kind of see that and get there in order to get through the next upcoming years. And Faith says she's doing tons of research. She's just thought she would ask. Again, that's why I asked Jules. I figured, you never know who knows what, right? Someone might have come across that one piece of information that you're looking for. And that's back to, we're all connected, right? Let's all share that information and help each other, walk each other home. Linda, thank you again so much. Again, I'm looking so forward to working with you more on this and bringing this out to the world and seeing what it brings for you and me. You know what I mean? I think like that whole idea of we're all connected is, as you evolve and find out more about yourself and your own mission, that sends out ripples to everybody and the collective benefits from it.
Right.
And Jules is asking, does unconditional love allow you and the rest to produce light language and other higher phenomena? And I think, Jules, you know the answer. Is that the key? Unconditional love. I think that's the basis of this show, right? Is unconditional love. And that's why you're here, Jules. And that's why Linda is here. That's why we're all here. And I have to thank you all so much for that unconditional love and trust, for coming here for an hour every Thursday, and just whatever I've got to offer. You guys are always here listening, and I'm always blessed. The universe is blessing me with amazing people like Linda to continue to talk to and learn and expand my own experience of the universe. So thank you all, Linda included. Arnie, her frequency brings in the light. Absolutely amazing. Thank you for being here. I'm sure I'll have you back as this develops, and again as we bring this out to the world.
Okay.
And I will see everybody on Tuesday for holding space. Next Thursday I have the Long Island Gala, which I didn't really talk much about. I did talk about it last year because I did take the day off. I very rarely take a day off, but the gala always happens on Thursdays. I'm gonna just bear with me for a moment, Linda. I'm just going to talk about it for a second, because the Long Island Gala is something that I'm involved with. I also do the website every year for the gala, and I did the website this year as well. Let me see if I'm going to bring it up. Every year there is a theme. This year is the Triple Crown Gala. So this is the website for the Triple Crown Gala, which, as you see, is this Thursday. And there's always it's a charity. Horseability is the charity that they're sponsoring this year, which is a lot of horse therapy. I don't know if you've ever experienced any of that, Linda, but horses are super extremely sensitive to energy. So the idea of getting next to a horse and learning how to train and interact with it is a very, very energetic, therapeutic process for people with PTSD and all sorts of things. So there's some amazing organizations on Long Island that are involved with that. That's Horseability. So here's some of the honorees. It's a great event that I'm a part of every year. So I feel very grateful to have been a part of designing this website, and going to go to the gala and see all of the signage and all of the stuff that I did over the summer in person. So I'm excited about that. So there you go. I got a little bit of a chance to celebrate that. And Faith is saying, thank you, Miss Linda, for sharing the love. I felt it. And I thank you as well. And I will see everybody on Tuesday. Until then, have a great night. Peace. Bye-bye.
This is the theme song for the live stream of consciousness. You gotta ask yourself whether reality is a dream or you are dreaming.